pick! Guitar pick! Ah!
I got
Oh my
one
God!
for you if you need one.
No, okay,
You want
cool,
one?
yeah. Here, actually,
Yeah,
let's trade picks. Can we do like a little?
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, thank you.
There.
Here.
Oh,
Great.
wait. Yeah, thanks, buddy.
No,
Oh, yeah, I like this one. It's got my name on it.
this
That's
one
so
too.
weird.
I know, it's a good thing.
It's got my band name on
Hey.
it.
I
And my name's
I had a few spares.
so fancy. I know, they're all over my house.
Fancy.
Are we on air? Are people watching us?
Yeah, we are now being observed
Oh my God, Glenn, do you ever get
Right.
the feeling you're being watched?
all the time. It's really weird. Oh, and you brought some wine. I brought I was going to have dry January, but then there was an attempted coup.
Yeah. That got a
I
lot of
just
people
figured-
back on the sauce.
I know, so I started drinking a little again. But so tonight I am doing my dry hopped, not really a beer. It's like all the carbs, but none of the fun. It's great. So I can keep my little puppy punch, but I don't have to. But I
Is
have
it
less chance
non-alcoholic?
It's non-alcoholic, so I have less chance of waking up in the morning, at 4 in the morning, and regretting everything.
Oh, here's the thing: is you just drink a lot, and then you take ibuprofen and Benadryl, and you sleep right through the night. You wake up the next day, you feel kind of tired, but no hangover.
Is that a rock star tip?
That is a rock star tip. Rock star to rock star, lead singer to lead singer.
Lead singer to lead singer. I just always suffered. I'm enough of like a masochist that I always just if I had a hangover, I'd be like, this is what you get. You big shit. Just like no mercy. Just
I know. I never met somebody who's so plugged into the universe, so deeply connected to like the fundamental vegetal knowledge of the world, who like just did it as hard as you.
the self-loathing thing.
You just do life so hard. It's like I would think somebody like you would be like, I will be the vine. I will be the leaf. I will find the sun. I will be the root. The root finds the water. It all just happens naturally. And you eat your heart out.
Working on it. I just have like I feel like all my my hue, my saturation, my volume, they're all just turned up a little high.
Yeah.
So I feel everything's
Yeah.
The idea, hopefully now that I'm 50, my mind will just, as I start to slowly shut down, I'll achieve some stasis and happiness. Or even just a level of like expectation that meets with, I was even thinking today, like my great grandfather died. He had a heart attack at 50. And so there's this, paternal side of like, what's my expectation of longevity or whatever, where there's just a certain like, okay, I'm up to grandfather now. Everything in whatever part of me is my grandfather, Richard, my middle name was his name. So whatever part of me is him is now all in gravy time, right?
Yeah.
And then when I get to 59 and past that, that's when my dad died, and anything after that is going to be gravy time.
Yeah.
So there's like whatever worry leading up to that, but then it's like every day is like, oh man, this is just a freebie. This is awesome. I mean, it's kind of silly to have an entire life. I do envy people who like learned to enjoy life early on. It's so much better than worrying about like being successful or liked or any of these just like
know.
being happy.
I think everybody's
works.
having a really hard time.
You think people are having a hard time these days?
I think people are having a hard time these days and all the time. I think
This is true.
I think I think there are people who take it a little bit lighter, and then there are people like you who like kind of have no skin on some of the time. Mm-hmm. But if I could put my hand on your forehead and just like give something to you, it would just be how much everybody fucking loves you. You're such an adorable, sweet, lovable man.
You're kind. I'm
I feel like
last to that party, but but I'm working.
I know.
on it.
I wish you because Yeah, I wish you could feel how much everybody fucking loves you. Everybody in the chat, just tell Glenn how
Oh,
much you love him.
thank you, Chris. You're
Cause he's such
sweet.
a sweetie.
Could
My
you play
wife,
me a love song since you're being so nice?
yeah, I got a really nice new love song from my
You got a new?
from my yeah, I got a new love song from my wife. You guys want to
Yay!
hear
I
it?
want to hear it.
All right,
Yeah,
should I play it? You want me to play it now?
I do want you to play it now.
Okay. Well, I long to dwell beside you when the shadows stretch their specters across the sleepy earth. I wake up in our bed every morning feeling like a good day for all I'm worth. The thought of you so far away nags my heart like ribbons on a windy thorn. It's the love of you. It's the love of you that drags my tired feet across each crooked way where others wander all forlorn. Breath for breath and blue for blue. When given life, we're given woe. But the love of you will pull me through. But the blue, the blue, the blue. Well, my memory strays to sleepy days and laughter on the ceiling when our love was born. On the feelings of our words toward a future to be trusted till our shoes are worn. To walk along love's highway hand in hand and know forever is our mantelpiece. It's the love of you. It's the love of you that drags my tired feet along each crooked way where others wander all forlorn. Breath for breath and blue for blue. When given life, we're given woe. But the love of you will pull me through. The blue, the blue, the blue, the blue, the blue. There it is. I know there's harmonics in there somewhere. That's my new love song.
I really like it.
I wrote it. I'd say I wrote it for my wife, but I really wrote it for you.
Yes, you're so sweet. I like the little. There's a Paul Simon part. It's the dun, 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 and then you just go into this chord that Paul Simon would never do. You hit this total blues like.
Yeah. I'm like,
it's a sudden right turn. It's awesome.
I love Paul Simon. Did you grow up listening to a lot of Paul Simon?
It was actually one of the only things that that my parents like played that I really got into. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I liked their music, but around our house, it was a little bit of Israeli folk music, and then kind of really square jazz. So, I mean, some Benny Goodman, like big band swing stuff, but a lot of Dave Brubeck and kind of math jazz.
Yeah.
And then show tunes and Simon and Garfunkel. A little bit of Joan Baez. But Simon and Garfunkel was this one thing where they played it and was like, okay, I was like that. was somehow in my culture too. Like my parents hated, they were not hated, they didn't like rock music. My dad
Uh-huh.
apparently, when my parents were going to Berkeley, he heard Yesterday on the radio. He thought it
Uh-huh.
was a really beautiful song, and he went to like the record store and asked if they had the single Yesterday, and the guy said, "By the Beatles?" And he said, "No," and walked out. He just thought all they did was shout.
That's so funny. What was he studying?
Physics.
Wow.
Yeah,
And he
he
just
was physics and she was chemistry. They were both getting their PhDs at Berkeley when they met, and
wow.
he remembers the entire physics department going into the basement, like all the physics majors in his dorm, and going down and watching new episodes of Star Trek together. And
That's
they were
funny.
at Berkeley during the free speech movement. And they were totally politically down with it, but Dad was like, "I came here to go to the lab," and so they like missed. They were at Berkeley in the '60s, and they missed like all the crazy shit.
Because they were
The
like in a laboratory
yeah, they were just
smashing atoms with
smashing
ball beam
atoms,
hammers. Yeah.
pretty much. They always squish out from under, and you gotta keep, you know.
Yeah, I just Lindsay and I were driving. We went up to like this little lake house and spent a couple days up there. And on the way back, we just were like in the car. I was just like, "Hey Siri, play Simon and Garfunkel." And we like
Oh yeah.
I hadn't listened to that stuff in such a long time, and it's it's so beautiful and it's so good, and it's like what I didn't really remember was how plugged in it is to a lot of the other stuff that's going on then. Like there are little
Mm-hmm.
digs in different songs at the Beatles and little digs at like Bob Dylan
Whoever
and
he was.
whoever he was,
That was
man.
Dylan Thomas.
But yeah, I was knocked out. It was cool because a lot of that stuff, I listened to those songs and I right when I got super into songwriting, I was listening to
Mm-hmm.
tons of Simon and Garfunkel, and I was thinking like how much his Paul Simon's like kind of idea of what would make a good song affected affected me because I
Mm-hmm.
think like talking about songwriting with like people like listening and in and maybe curious about how it works. I think one of the funniest things is like how people who don't write songs think about topics for songs. Like, do people always tell you
You
like,
should write a song about
yeah,
that.
you should write a song about that? And you're like, that's not really the subject of a song. I always say you should write a song about that. It would be really cool if you wrote a song about it. Um, but you know, I was talking to Lindsay today about we were just talking about writing and in general and how like people think um, that in order to like raise the stakes and make something interesting, you have to have like death and destruction or like the stakes have to be something that's really you know arguably important like death or something
Yeah.
and how really a lot of times it's more about introducing these details that induces people to care. And sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
not about like somebody sitting on death row. It's like about just rain on a window can mean more than a poorly written thing about something
Oh
that
yeah.
would arguably be like higher stakes. And I think Paul Simon's so good at doing that, at like building a story out of little details. That.
Well, or if there is something political or international or bigger international if there's something bigger in there to think about, he's not banging you over the head with it. He's kind of describing the issue around it. I mean, in the same way, like Randy Newman. I mean, I use the
Yeah.
same examples over and over, but like there's an oil barge a winding down the Cuyahoga River, rolling into Cleveland through the lake. The Lord can make you tumble, Lord can make you turn, Lord can make you overflow, but the Lord can't make you burn. Burn
Yeah.
on, big river. And instead of going like, toxic chemicals in the river, we really gotta change ourselves right now. It's just like, he just writes this love song to Cleveland. And it's so nuanced and ironic. And I mean, in the same way, you know, me and my buddies are traveling people. We like to go down the restaurant row. I mean, I just sang that for my Sunday show. Never been lonely, never been lied to. Born at the right time.
Yeah.
That song is so big and it covers a lot of ground, but it covers it in a very gentle way.
Yeah.
You know, it's yeah. I was going to actually say, I use this example. I don't know if I'd ever talked about. Do you know Ron Sexsmith at all?
No, he's somebody no, I don't know. I don't know his music.
Because he has this song, it's called Thinking Out Loud, and it's like the basic, here, wait, I'll go, it's like, whoop. Thinking out loud is all I'm doing, trying to raise our love above these ruins. With each song I kick it around, thinking out loud. This verse is my favorite because it's the bottle of wine that does it for me. So it's like, love, I can tell you've a load on your mind. If we poured ourselves like this bottle of wine and let it flow, we'd figure it out. Thinking out loud. But the thing is, it's like, it's not if we poured ourselves like a bottle of wine. It's if we poured ourselves like this bottle of wine, which means it's late at night and we are talking and we are halfway through that bottle already. Like,
right. Yeah.
And it's like, for me, it's like the difference of the one word of this bottle of wine gives you so much context and depth about the reality of that song. Like, it's like mind blowing. I met him and I was like, the line, this bottle of wine. He's like, never thought about it.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just looking at a bottle of wine, and I don't know if I've noticed in your writing, and I try and do this too, like, I don't know if you do this intentionally, but like I try to never, like when I'm writing a lyric, I try to never leak any energy or meaning from the lyrics. So like that, like instead of using an indefinite article like a bottle of wine, him saying this bottle of wine referring to a specific bottle of wine, I'm actually like goofing around. I think I was telling you I was like goofing around with this kind of fantasy novel, and the main character like takes his hood off and he's got a dog's head, and I wanted to like show his, and it's the first moment you're realizing he has a dog's head, and I'm talking about like his dog's head and his ear I wanted his ear to make this gesture that would sort of go back and up. So I'm like, his ear turns back and up to hear, and I figure like it would be a bird right up in a tree.
Love
but I can't just
pair
say
of ears appearing right as you
I know, and here's my kitty. I mean, I can't say like a bird, right? It's got to be more specific than that. So the first time I wrote it through, I wrote a sparrow, but then I was like, looked up birds in England that would be around in May, because that's when this is happening. And I'm like, I see like a black cap. And I'm like, black cap? And then I was like, no, a blue tit. And I like, just making things more and more specific, I think, is so...
It's so fun that way. No, but in doing the research too, to find like, it's like finding the item that gives you joy, right? It's that like
and not leaking any meaning by not being specific is really my point.
Yeah.
Never giving up on something that could be more specific and impart more information and then just be like a stronger piece of writing.
And there's the finding, but it's like not just the specific, but it's also, I love when I get in research mode and like, it's that thing of going down birds active in England in May and, and you're hitting it and you're thinking about it and you like, and you hit the one that's actually like, oh yeah, it just feels right in whatever way, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I did a song on I don't know why it's like it was one of the Matt the Electrician titles, right? And
Uh-huh.
it was the distant drum, and these people have all heard this before, but I was trying to find like cosmic level rhythms, like really long rhythms, like wondering ones that might take
Mm.
years or centuries, and
Mm.
that got me like diving into cyclical universe theories, and then
Yeah,
I
hell yeah.
spent like hours reading like about the cyclical universe, like talk about a
Mm-hmm.
long one, right? Like
Yeah,
billions and
yeah.
billions of years, and I found this one cyclical universe theory that was based not on because a lot I mean most of them have like the Einsteinian like expansion and contraction, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And there was one though that had the idea that everything expands until matter itself is all torn apart, and everything is pulled apart until the atoms themselves are broken up and everything is pure energy in the entire universe. And that at the moment when everything in the universe is light, there is no longer time or space. Therefore, the universe is empty. Therefore, the universe restarts. It's full of energy, but it's not full of time
Ooh.
or space.
Ooh.
And I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
Wow. That one's still being counted off, that rhythm.
There you go. Yeah, and so that one made the lyric.
That sounds
Anyway,
awesome.
yeah.
I want to
Should
hear
I?
that song.
I could find the lyric and play it later.
Or,
I was going to play my
or
last. I have kind of a
yeah,
love
play.
song. I feel like I was just like, this was written under a tree, and I didn't actually sing it through until like half an hour ago. I was supposed to send it in last Friday to Matt and the
Uh-huh.
group, and
Oh
realized
right,
I'd written
yeah.
it, but I never like played it or finished it or wrote a bridge. Or it's like, if I can get a chorus and two verses, I call it done. Many
Good.
weeks, it's like that's enough
Good.
song. The rest is filler, right? I'll add a solo. So, but this one, and this total Chris Martin rip on parts of the melody, but whatever. You know,
Hey.
sometimes you do. Sometimes you
Yeah.
do.
Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't. We twist and turn, we ebb and flow, change our shape more than we know. We fix our gaze, rest assured, what is past will come once more. And I was a riot of color and light. I was a song on your lips in the night when your dreams were deferred, your mind wouldn't rest. The weight of the world sat so hard on your chest, and you were the view at the top of the climb. You were the breath and the pause in her time. You were the peace I'd wondered if I could ever deserve or ever would find when I was a riot. You were the peace when I was a riot. You were the peace. I see your heart, your shadow too. I trust your word, I trust in you. And slow but sure, and with your help, maybe I'll come to trust myself. Like when I was a riot of color and light, I was a song on your lips in the night when your dreams were deferred, mine wouldn't rest. The weight of the world sat so hard on your chest, and you were the view at the top of the climb. You were the breath, the pausing of time. You were the peace I'd wondered if I could ever deserve or forever would find when I was a riot. You were the peace when I was a riot. You were the peace when I was a riot. You were the peace.
Yeah. That's beautiful. You just wrote that?
Thank you. Yeah, that was Friday.
Oh man, that's fucking.
That's the second time I sang it through.
Oh really? That's so good.
There's something about those choruses. The da 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 boo ba da ba 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 da ba da. It's like it gets. I was thinking Chris Martin because there's this thing about Coldplay songs. He manages to do these songs that sound like jingles or schoolyard songs, but somehow pulls them off. Like where they don't, like I do those and I feel like they sound lame, and like there's something about Coldplay. He manages to pull off these like really sing-songy like playground melodies in a totally convincing way.
I never even heard it. I never even heard it that way. That's funny.
Oh,
but okay. I was listening.
It's got
to
a bit
that.
of Amber Rhubarb in it.
You said the Chris Martin thing, and so I was listening for that, but I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that at all.
Okay.
And I love the way
I
that
added
goes
too many syllables to it. Thank you.
I think it's a great tune, man. I didn't think there was too many syllables.
Oh, somebody asked, what is the name of the song? The song is I Was a Riot. So.
Oh, I love that. That's a beautiful song.
Thank you. It's a fun title. I haven't done enough of those this year. I love.
And it's when I was a Ryan, you were, or when I was a Riot.
I was a Riot. It was I Was a Riot was the prompt.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote like when I was a riot of color and light. I was the song on your lips in the night.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was hearing that as I was Orion, like the Greek character who's a constellation.
Oh. No. I was Orion. That works too.
You could sing that some of the time. Mm-hmm. Hey, that one's on the house, man.
Thank you. It's like the only constellation I can pick up. It's totally
because we were talking about you were talking about this like cosmic rhythm. So I think my head
that's
was
a different one. It just didn't drum. No, this was this week's song. This was this week's song.
I actually like I had this moment this week, like funny shit that happens when you don't tour for a really long time or like leave your house very often. Just speaking of like the universe and stuff, I had this moment a couple nights ago where I finally like understood why people see the zodiac the way they do. Like what's actually what they mean when they're saying like the sun is in the earth is going around the sun, and as we change our perspective, the sun looks like it's going up and down in these different constellations that are along the horizon. And I don't know, I felt really smart for a second. That's all. I find everybody's watching is like, you never figured that out?
Well, but getting to be in the same place and kind of see the procession of the stars through the night and the movement, like it's, not always thinking of that if you're running in and out of clubs. I don't know.
No. And, it's, you can't really, that's one thing that I miss in New York City is just the night sky. It's so nice going somewhere else and spending a couple nights and being able to look up at the sky and there's actual stars, because you can't see the stars here in New York.
Yeah, it's been glorious up here where we live. It's really, we're out of the city enough that it's pretty dark at night. And just I've been watching Orion. Just last night I was sitting out, Orion just kind of hanging off to my left, slowly coming up, and Yeah, it's been pretty great.
That's so nice. We're always just like, oh, look, a star. Amazing.
Yeah.
My wife knows the night sky pretty well, but I'm, she's the brains of the outfit.
The brains of the outfit. Every musician needs one.
I got another love song.
Oh, I would.
We're gonna play some love songs.
Yeah, we can play. You can play any kind of song you want. This is a safe place.
On some other sunny day, when it used to be child's play, you could get up and walk away from yourself. Now that the sun is gone and the shadows are strange and long, try to be strong, but it's wrong. Don't you need someone like you never did? You still need someone 'cause you feel like a kid. You're gonna need someone someday. Stand on the breaking ground and know love is all around, but you can't reach through the light and sound to be found. Like a stage without a band, like an arm without a hand, only doing what you can to hang on. And you need someone like you never did. Yes, you need someone 'cause you feel like a kid.
You sound just like that guy from the Spin Doctors. You guys should.
I get that all the time.
You should work together someday.
I should, yeah. I hear they're really nice guys.
They are. They are.
I
He
gotta
had a
figure out
few
what.
weird years, I'm told, but he's better now.
Yeah. At least he's still cute, I hear. That's most importantly.
He's adorable.
He's still cute.
Adorable.
Somebody said something on Twitter about me and Lane Stanley from Alice in Chains being the same person.
Oh. But
and Like
So
we'd
he
switch
faked his
places or
death
something.
and started.
And just was like, he wanted my life, so he just became me. So I mean,
Cool.
I've never seen us in the same place.
And you probably never will at this point.
At this point, it's not likely that I ever will.
No, no. Aw.
Sad. It's very sad. I didn't know him. Did you know him?
I never met him. No.
No, I never met him either.
And strange because we were like, were we label mates? Yeah, we were label mates. Maybe
Yeah.
we passed by him once. The guy who was responsible for signing us, Nick Turzo, actually signed them.
Uh-huh.
Or he wasn't responsible for signing us. He was the guy. The only reason we got signed was Nick was working at ASCAP. And we were recording we did our first little indie album and sold cassettes in Santa Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to LA to record the next one. And the guy who was producing it was managed by a guy who worked at ASCAP. He gave it to Nick, who worked there, like the tape of our first record. Nick liked it and started making cassette dubs of it and sending them to A&R people. Like, we'd never met him. We'd had no conversation. And then we got a call from like Vicky Hamilton from Geffen, and she's like, "Yeah, I really liked your record." And we're like, he never sent one to anyone. Like, and so it ended up being like this really bizarre thing. So it was Nick Turzo, it was this guy we'd never heard of, and he was just like sending our record to A&R people on our behalf.
Whoa, that's
and then
crazy.
we ended up getting a deal. Yeah, I mean, I was going to San Francisco State. I was going to move out of Santa Barbara and go, like, we were just going to finish the album and then break up.
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
You know, I mean, it cost $6,000. You know, it was just a fun thing to do, was make a little local record. And instead we got signed. But he ended up working as in kind of co-A&R'd for us for a long time with Ron Oberman, and like did very well in the business. But yeah.
Was he just a young guy like at the time, or did he? Yeah,
he was probably like 22 or something.
That's so funny. So you guys were his like entree into the business.
I guess so. I mean, we were part of. I mean, he was already at ASCAP, but he's
okay.
Not much older than we are. Maybe he was 25, and once again, the cool thing, the people I know who worked at ASCAP, the nice thing about being there is like, you know, if people sign up with you, great, you're going to go with them or BMI. It was before CSAC, and there's no like, they don't get a signing bonus, and they just kind of get to be the cool guys, like going, this is awesome, and they're like, they can get behind the stuff they like because there's no stakes. Like if they sign it and it's a flop, they didn't spend the record company's money. They're just like, it's kind of a cool. They get to be Switzerland and everything. Like
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. They're when I met the guy who signed us to BMI, it took me a long time to understand what the hell he was talking about, because I was like, you don't, you know, for the viewers who don't know what BMI and ASCAP are, they're like
PROs. That explains.
Yeah. That explains. Now everybody knows. When you ask like how do we get paid when our songs are on the radio, there are these agencies, these organizations that collect the money from the radio stations and then kind of figure out how much Glenn's tune got played, how much my tune got played, how much Sting's song got played, how much Alice in Chains got played, and then they do a mathematical doodad, and we all get our checks in the mail.
And
but
venues, so radio stations play that. Also, if you walk into any business that uses like music as an active part of their business, so that would be like a massage place or bars or yoga studios, places that are using licensed music as kind of part of their product.
H&M or Abercrombie and Fitch or Gap, where they're using music to create a vibe to sell shit.
They got to pay the writers.
That's actually funny. Like when I go shopping with my wife and we walk into a store, the music, I don't mind shopping, for stuff, In fact, I kind of like it. But man, we walk into like H&M, the music in H&M like makes me want to kill myself.
What is it?
It's just like, like I recently had this thought of like, you know how they have like McMansions, like great big houses that are just these
Yeah.
bullshit houses and they all look the same. There's like it's like McMusic. You know what I mean? It's
It's
just like
just pure filler.
it's just
Get you
generic. They're like
pumped
we
up.
need, yeah, we need this kind of music for. And I knew a guy like who worked at a company in England that generated this kind of music. It's
And
just
this is
like
like single license buy, so they don't have to pay ASCAP or BMI. Because there is
yeah,
that too, where you buy like unlicensed music or license cleared, so then you don't
I
have to keep paying for it.
right. I think they were creating like streams of just music that's not actually music that it's
Anyone really
cheaper to
wants to
use this
listen to.
music because nobody gives a shit, and while they're buying shit in your store,
But
it's I
but
don't know,
it's
maybe.
but it is also part of the environment. I've had a few friends who started businesses who had questions. It's like they want me to pay all this. Like, why do I have to pay it? I have Spotify. I'm just like,
Oh yeah,
but especially
yeah.
like if it's a yoga class, whatever, it's a huge part of the environment, and
Oh hell yeah.
you pay for your paintings, you pay all these other things, and it's like the music is actually an
Oh
important
hell yeah.
part.
I actually like they trot me out. BMI like gets me to come to their like the meetings the pep talks that they have with like restaurant associations. And I'm like, if you ever wonder why you're paying BMI this money, it's like it goes to me. That money goes to me. That puts
Hmm.
like cereal on the table for my daughter. So if you want my daughter to have no Cheerios, you know what to do. Don't pay BMI.
Do you do
And it
the
works
home
every
ec?
time. They
Yeah,
they keep paying.
it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Should I play you that other song,
Yeah, I
the
want to hear
hippie
that.
song? It's
Yeah, I want
once
to hear
again,
your
it's
hippie song.
like two verses and a chorus. It's a total
I want to
cop
hear it.
out, but it'll work. Here, wait. Let me pull up the lyric because I never play this one. Turn on all my reverb again, and I don't even know if this mic is gonna pick up this drum very well. So we'll see. So, is that picking it up at all?
Yeah, yeah, totally. What the fuck? That sounds amazing.
All rhythm is harmony, all harmony is rhythm. All relation reciprocal, giving and receiving. Hear the beating heart, the pulling waves, the constant hum. The birth and fall, the pulsing star, the distant drum, the distant drum. The stretching of heavens when everything is light. All distance dissolving, no space, no form, no time. Hear the beating heart, the pulling waves, the constant hum. The birth and fall, the pulsing star, the distant drum, the distant drum. Whee!
What the fuck is that thing?
It's called a Rav Vast. It's kind of like a hung drum, but
Oh man.
yeah, this Russian thing. And each of these has like, wait, it's hard to do the harmonics at an angle. Has a fundamental, and then if you hit in the center, so you can get hippie drum.
I love that thing, man.
It's fun. The pygmy one's interesting because it's this very limited. How can I say? In some ways, there are a few that are kind of a regular minor. Like I have more of a hung drum thing, and it's just like a Celtic minor scale, but it's not. I'm trying to think how to describe it. This one, it's a pygmy scale, so it's like this kind of open fifth stuff. So it ends up all kind of being the same.
Yeah,
like you're limited in your harmonic stuff, whereas in the minor one you can kind of squidge it around a little more.
That's so cool. It's like, but it's like an open, it's like an open an open tuning, where you sort of, it's got a thing, and it's. But I love that thing. I've never heard.
Every once in a while, it's like really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. I love that song. That's fucking beautiful.
Hey, that was another one of the Matt the Electrician titles. It was The Distant Drum. And so in my mind, I went, okay, The Distant Drum. And the first verse was actually about, there's some bass player who posted a bunch of videos on harmony and rhythm being the same thing. Because it's all cycles per amount of time, right?
Sure.
Audio is cycles per second. Rhythm is beats per minute.
Yep.
And so he was breaking things down and saying, so, you have bum, bum. That's an octave, right? It's twice as fast. So the rhythmic equivalent is you're going bump and
yeah.
And so an octave is just, going from, let's say, a whole note to a half note. And so then he starts breaking down polyrhythms of the equivalent of a fifth in timing is like a seventh. And so he starts playing all these awesome polyrhythms and going, you can stack. All of this is harmony. Harmony and rhythm are just a matter of speed.
Mm-hmm.
We call it rhythm when it's slower. We call it harmony when it's faster.
Right, yeah.
But these same relationships exist in terms of what's an octave, what's a fifth, what's a third, but we're thinking of that as like the third is actually a seventh, it's like, and so he's just doing all this stuff that's kind of harmonically and rhythmically stacked, which kind of blew my mind for a while. So.
And then that's sort of everything.
Yeah.
Is because I had a thought too that light is the same thing, but even faster. The light is like
light color.
Colors are harmonies, but if you get a high enough pitch, it starts to become light and color.
Yeah, which is I always wanted to like dissect Alex Wong's brain. Do you know Alex? He produced Vienna. He's a great producer. He lives in Nashville, and he has synesthesia. So he sees music as color.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered, like, what if there's some type, if synesthesia is like kind of a neurological crosstalk of some sort.
Yeah.
Like, in these regions of the brain where it's the same reason apparently like feet are so often like an erogenous zone for people, is that in the way that the mapping of the physical, like mapping of the nerval impulses of the body into the mind are mapped, the genitals are actually really close to the feet. And the thought is, like, they're adjacent, not on your body, but this is totally true.
Yeah.
They're adjacent neurologically, if not physically, and so there can maybe be some crosstalk. So, but I wonder the same thing with synesthesia. Like,
that's my understanding of synesthesia. Is it's like parts of the brain are a little hyper connected.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's like loose myelin sheathing, or is it super connection, or is it actually like
Yeah,
electrical
yeah,
leakage, or I don't know what it
yeah.
is, but it's
I don't know.
awesome.
We don't know much about the brain. It turns out.
Nope,
I have a
we really don't.
I have a distinct advantage though because a little while ago, um, I had like I had a I had this like vocal paralysis in like 2015,
Hmm.
and so I had this complete neurological workup done. I went to a neurologist and I had all these tests and stuff like that, and I went and I got a CAT scan of my brain. So he's like, okay, you're good, and the technician was super nice, and I was like, all right, I just tell me one thing, and he's like, yeah, and I was like, do I have a brain? And he was like, yes, and he pointed to the screen, and he said, that's your brain right there, and I was like, awesome. So I actually know that I have a brain.
If I only had a brain.
If I only had a brain. So I don't know. I mean,
It's good that you know you have a brain.
yeah,
I
I
will
saw a
say, by the
picture of
way,
it.
if you've never heard, have you ever heard Harry Connick's version of that?
No.
It's from like, it was 21 or something, like his very first record that's just like piano and vocal.
Oh my God.
And he does,
That.
it's an
Oh.
awesome
I don't.
harmonization. It's so sad. It's like the most beautiful
Oh.
rendition of that song I've ever
Oh,
heard.
I've gotta write that down. I gotta write that down.
Yeah, it's from like
I.
his very first album. And you will love the way he harmonizes it is so awesome.
Funny, like weird little fame stories. I like. I was like,
Did
in
Harry
Sony
Connick try to
Studios.
shoot you? What?
No, no. I was in. We were in Sony Studios, like rehearsing for a tour,
Yeah.
and Harry Connick walks in, and I'm like, holy shit, it's fucking Harry Connick Jr. That's fucking crazy, and I'm all ready to like defer to him. And he walks up to me and he's like, can I have your autograph? And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You're Harry Connick Jr. Like, I should be asking for your fucking autograph. And he's like, man, I'm such a big fan. My wife loves you guys. And I was just like, okay. It's crazy.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, that was pretty silly.
Nice.
Silly shit.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, well, you know. You know how it is.
There are worse things to happen when you meet Harry Connick.
He can shoot you.
He'll never get past that, Willie, or at least we won't let him.
I met David Hasselhoff at like at one of those radio festivals, and he walks up to me and he goes, "Hi, I'm David Hasselhoff. I've sold 5 million records in Germany."
Really?
Yeah,
That was his introduction?
yeah.
Just in case you didn't know. Well, fuck Germany.
like-
He drove Kit. I mean,
Come on,
he
you're
had a
yeah.
talking car.
He's the Hoff, man. I was like a little too old for that show, I think, or maybe I was perfect. I never really got into it though.
I luckily was either a little younger or a little more immature, and I loved it. All I wanted was a talking car. I think that was the same year. There was this game called Top Secret. My brother was
Yeah.
playing D&D, and so I played a lot of Top Secret and Champions.
Yeah.
It was the role
That was the
playing game.
coolest.
Spy
That was the coolest game. Yeah, we were
yeah,
like,
and you could outfit your spy vehicle with all the cool shit.
yeah, that was so cool.
It was
I
good.
haven't thought about that in a really long time. We played all those games, man. Melee and D&D, and like my buddies were super into that stuff, and I was just sort of like along for the ride.
Was it Steve Jackson, like Ogre and all of those? Car Wars?
Yeah,
Oh,
Car
yeah.
Wars. Yep, that shit was, man. We are seriously nerding out now. There's a really
Well,
good book. There's a great
Mhm.
book called The Elven Gene, like elfin Gene.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know the I don't know the author's name, but it's such a funny book about, like, this guy is, exactly our age, and it's about like growing up in the 80s and being in like middle school in the 80s and being super into D&D, and it's just a very funny, very insightful, funny account of that period of time.
I know a guy he's one of the more brilliant people I know, like, and is one of those musicians, and I know a couple of these who it's like he plays in front of people, but his real purpose for being a musician is practicing, not performing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, he likes to be at the edge of his capacity and push his capacity, and so he plays difficult things too. He like plays sitar and classical guitar, and he's very like driven in this way. His curiosity is just always about his edge,
Yeah.
and he also is an avid Dungeons and Dragons player. And the thing he says about it though was that it like taught him as a kid during like days when he was wild, nothing like to sit with 6 people and hold in your mind a shared, complete, imagined world, and
Yeah, yeah.
inhabit it with like personality and character, and be able to picture where everybody is standing and where you are, and thinking of like the things we've lost with these detailed computer games and constant entertainment is.
Mm-hmm.
He just said that the sustained
Yeah.
concentration combined with sustained creativity of
C-
Dungeons and
With
Dragons is like the
yeah,
best mental training he's ever done.
as a group, in a group,
Yeah.
keeping it all together.
Hmm.
That's I never really thought of it that way.
It made me really want to play D&D again.
Man, we used to have these campaigns down in the basement of a friend of mine. He was like, I was a sophomore and he was a senior, and his brother was old, like a lot of older kids, but me and a couple other freshmen like hanging out,
Hmm.
and there was a bong going around, and just it was the 20th century, so everybody's smoking cigarettes, and he had this like basement bedroom, and there was like one light with a like a black t-shirt over it, and like we were just sitting there in the semi darkness, and like just doing these campaigns like in his dungeon, in a dungeon, in these dungeons, and it was fun. It
That
was a
is
lot of fun.
awesome. And I
Good
realize
times.
now we're running up on like an hour here,
Oh shit.
and but I haven't mentioned that tonight is for the Food Bank of New York City.
Oh shit.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
And just if you are watching this, good people, if you are watching this on Facebook, if you're hanging out listening to us, shoot the shit. Which is, it's so
Mm-hmm.
nice talking to you, man. I miss
You
you.
too, my friend. Yeah, I miss you too.
I got too many people I love in too many places. It's a good problem to have. But so you're in New York City right now,
I
and
am.
we've been doing a lot of these shows for food banks because although we are one of the richest countries, if not the richest country in the world, we somehow are increasingly we're like the rich poverty country. We're
Yeah.
like we're doing really good at making sure the wealth doesn't get spread very well, and
Ooh.
so food insecurity is huge. New York City has its fair share of it, especially during COVID. So if you're on Facebook, there's a little donate button, and you can give them however, the smallest amount is great because it
Every
all adds
every
up.
little bit. Every little bit
Every
helps.
little bit
You know,
counts. If you,
I don't know if you've ever been hungry, Glenn.
I have never been hungry.
Have you ever
I mean,
faced
I
food
have, but then
insecurity?
I've been able to have food. If that makes,
Yeah,
I've
I've
never
been I've
actually
been
been hungry.
I've been that broke a couple times, and it's really it's a terrible thing. In fact, um, I somebody asked me about this tune the other day, and I told the story, and it's a story I've told a number of times. I was in Providence, Rhode Island, doing this internship and spending a lot of time at Brown University, and being pretty broke. And I came up with this scam to get into the cafeteria there. I stole an apron, and I'd put the apron on, and I'd walk through the cafeteria, and get out of the cafeteria, get out of the kitchen, and take the apron off and sit down, and then I'd just put it in a backpack, and I would just eat. And I'm essentially like an honest person. I didn't feel very good about this, although it was a pretty clever scam. And I was sitting there eating, my ill-gotten cafeteria food, and a young woman walked in. She looked like Lois Lane, and I certainly wasn't Superman in that situation. And I wrote Jimmy Olsen's Blues from the point of view of Jimmy Olsen. And I told that story online a little while ago. And do you know Devin Nunes Cow?
No.
There's a famous account on Twitter called Devin Nunes Cow. And it basically just takes the motherfucking piss out of Devin Nunes all the time. And it got way, way bigger because, of course, Devin Nunes
he tried to shut it down, right?
He tried to shut it down. So they ended up with like 15 million followers. They would have had like 100,000 followers. And then because Devin Nunes had this widely publicized campaign against them. But Devin Nunes Cow we follow each other. And it was funny because I told this story, and Devin Nunes Cow was like, everybody was like, wow, it's really cool hearing the story of that song. And Devin Nunes Cow was like, that sucks that you had to, like, nobody should have to do that. You shouldn't have had to, you shouldn't have had to be hungry like that. That sucks that you had to be hungry when you were, like, a young person. And it was funny because, like, there's so many things in this country that we just take for granted, that are so fucked up. And, like Lindsay was telling me about somebody that she knows that got a job in the Netherlands, and they were like looking at the like kind of manual that came with the job, and was like, okay, explain to me sick leave. Like, I get it that if I'm sick, I got to get a note from my doctor, and I have to fill out this form, and there's this procedure, but like, it doesn't say anywhere how many sick days I get. And the other person was like,
well, if you're sick,
you're sick, you don't come into work. You're sick. You don't have sick days. If you're sick, just show that you're sick, and then you don't have to come to work no matter how many days you're sick. You don't have a limited amount of. And it was like, the guy was like, I can't believe how fucked up that is that I even thought of that. And it's
we
anyway.
have the resources. It's a strange thing. I mean, once again, America, there's this idea that freedom is the freedom. I talk about this a lot, but it's like, it's freedom to do things instead of freedom from things, right? Yeah. And it's the freedom to do whatever you damn well please, but it's not the freedoms that are afforded by us taking care of each other. And there's this idea, and you say that, and then people go, socialism! But it's also social contract. And just this idea that, I mean, I'd rather live in a city, instead of having to buy a higher wall, I would rather have no need for a wall because people aren't desperate. I mean, it was just in Switzerland right before this shut down. I played a show there and, was sitting there talking to a guy at a restaurant back when you could just talk to people at restaurants. God, I miss that. And, met this couple, and we ended up like walking around the city together later. My friend Jonathan and I were there, and they're just talking about, it was this description of, he's like, oh yeah, it's insanely expensive here. Taxes are really high, but there's almost no desperation. Yeah. And he's like, and we're all pretty good with that. It's like, you live in a small apartment, but there's great parks, there's places to like, and you're safe. You walk around and you're okay. And like, that's
that's freedom. That's a huge freedom. That's freedom. I was talking to my friend Arna Havda in Norway, who's in this group that I'm in called the Canoes, and he saw a breakdown of what Norwegians pay in taxes and what they don't have to pay out of pocket versus what Americans pay in taxes versus what we do have to pay out of pocket.
Might be cheaper at the end of the day.
No, it's it turned out that Americans paid 37% taxes on average, and Norwegians paid 38%
Okay.
taxes on average. So it was very, very close. The Norwegians did pay like 1% more, but it was very, it was very, very close.
Well, and the other thing is Americans play the lottery, where now it's like, even this group of people, we raised probably, I don't know, $15,000 to $18,000 for one of the people who comes to these live streams who had a brain tumor, and the idea that your medical costs should be like, do you have a charismatic enough GoFundMe or a group of people who are willing to show up and be like, that shouldn't be the difference between life and death, or losing your house, or having your family. Like, we have the wealth, and it's so bizarre that that conversation of, I don't know, people getting so upset about socialism. But then again, once it happens, once the ACA comes in and people have previous conditions cared, it's like nobody wants that taken away.
Right.
Nobody wants that taken away.
And it's not socialism. Socialism is when you turn the means of production over to the proletariat. Socialism is giving the factories to the workers, and I don't see that happening.
No, but social democracy is deciding that some things, and I would say, and you could argue it's like socialism is direct definition. I say every country is somewhat socialist. We have shared roads, we have common property and common things that we pay in for to be taken care of. And so then it's just a question of like, what do you want to pay for? And, what do you want to be in the free market, and what do you want to be run for the sake of all without profit in mind?
Right.
And this idea that somehow business, you want a businessman leading, you want to run the country like a business, but the country isn't. I don't want the country to be a business. I don't want schools to be a business. Like, their job is to educate. The government's job is to be the instrument of the people to help care for itself. And
right on.
It's weird shit. Hey, do you want to play a song?
Yeah.
Do you want to play one more song?
I'll do one more song. I'll do Jimmy Olsen's Blues.
Okay.
That I just mentioned. Well, I don't think I can handle this. A cloudy day in Metropolis. I think I'll talk to my analyst. I got it so bad for this. A little journalist to drive me up the wall and through the roof. Lewis and Clark in a telephone booth. I think I'm going out of my brain. I got it so bad for Miss Lois Lane. Please put me in your plan, Lois Lane. You don't need no Superman. Come on downtown and stay with me tonight. I got a pocket full of kryptonite. I got a pocket full of kryptonite. I got a pocket full of kryptonite. He's leaping buildings in a single bound. I'm reading Shakespeare at my place downtown. Come on downtown and make love to me. I'm a Jimmy Olsen, not a Titan, you see. He's fast in a bullet, stronger than a train. The one who got lucky with his keep around Miss Lois Lane. I can't believe my dilemma is real. I'm competing with the man of steel. Lois Lane, please put me in your plan. Louis Lane, you don't need no Superman, come on downtown. Stay with me tonight. I got a pocket full of kryptonite. I got a pocket full of kryptonite. I got a pocket full of kryptonite. I don't think I can handle this. A crowded day in Metropolis. I can't believe my dilemma is real. I'm competing with the Man of Steel. Louis Lane, please put me in your plan. Louis Lane, you don't need no Superman. Come on downtown and stay with me tonight. Got a pocket full of kryptonite.
All right. I too will. I will play a song.
Yeah, give us another song.
I'll do some last. Something popular from my distant past.
Give the people what they want.
Absolutely. Okay. Just a second. Here I go. Nothing so loud as hearing when we lie. Truth is not kind. You've said neither am I. The air outside so soft, saying everything. Everything. All I want is to be this way, be this close, be the same. All I want is to be this way. Evening speaks, feel it say. Nothing so cold. Closing heart, and all we need is to free the soul. We wouldn't be that brave, I know. The air outside so soft, confessing everything. All I want is to be this way, be this close, be the same. All I want is to be this way. Evening speaks, feel it say.
Woo! I
that
love
was
that
fun.
song. That's such a good song.
Thank you.
Oh, hey, can I plug my Thursday show?
Will you please plug your Thursday show and any other shit you happen to be doing?
Don't you glower. Don't you be sour. It's the Chris Barron Thirsty Thursday Happy Hour. Stage it on Thursday, 4:30 Eastern Time, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Barron. It's the Thirsty Thursday Happy Hour. How is that? Is that a good
That
plug?
was like, that was the best plug I've ever seen on one of these for anything. I'm gonna just give you that, just unabashed.
If you're gonna flog it, you might as well flog it.
If you're gonna flog, I'm trying to get better at learning how to flog it. I still don't even have a merch store.
I suck at it.
I'm bad at the
I can only clown around. It's so hard for me to say anything that would be good for my career. Like the fact that it took me until like the last second to be like, fuck, I gotta plug my show on Thursday. Like, oh man.
And somebody just said on Facebook, not on Facebook. Stageit.
No, it's on stageit.com. Stageit.com, yeah.
STAGIT.com.
But I'm confused. Are we on YouTube or on Facebook or both?
We are on my page on Facebook, Toad's page on Facebook, my page on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope.
Motherfucker, how did you do that?
It's called Restream. I mean, the interesting thing is it doesn't mean there's more people. I think people end up going and finding like the neighborhood they want to be in. So there's some group of people that like hanging out on my page, and there's some group of people that like hanging out on YouTube. YouTube looks better, and you can watch it on your TV. But I think some people like watch it on YouTube and then do the chat on Facebook.
Wow, that's amazing.
I don't know. It's everywhere, but it's the same group of people essentially.
So you're doing like 3 shows a week, right?
I do 3 here, and then I do Stageit on Sundays. And then I do my little choir thing on Tuesdays.
Amazing.
I'm a little stretched.
Yeah,
I may do
but
a little less
it's cool.
soon.
It's
I just
cool.
started a weird... It's been fun to keep it up, and it's been because it's been consistent, I feel like it's been a real, there's a real community that's grown up around it. And a lot of people have made friends, they show up for each other, and it's like... It's the interesting thing when I'm talking is because such a part of it is so often like I'm playing songs and then everybody gets to kind of socialize. It's like a show.
I know.
Same with Stageit, right? It's like
that's kind of cool because if it was a show and people were talking, you'd be like everybody would be annoyed. Mm-hmm. But this is cool because people can just like chat and not fuck anybody up.
Well, and it's also why I think the online and live streaming thing is going to continue. And there's people. Do you know Michael McDermott at all?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. My friend Brian was talking to me about him and said he's got a lot more support in Europe than he does in the States. He can tour well in Europe, but of course he can't tour at all. And like all of a sudden Stageit. It's like he does these shows and does them in the morning, and all his European fans show up, and he's making a living off of it. And I think a lot of people, Rhett Miller, had never done Stageit before this. He was about to do his first Stageit, and I remember we were just done with our tour. I was at the airport, about to fly back to California from New York, and was talking to him about Stageit and trying to give him sage advice on Stageit. He does it way better than I do, but was giving him telling him how to set it up, and it's that was my last conversation, and it's been interesting for a certain group of artists who have found that it's this is, but I think it will last after because there's an audience that loves being able to talk to each other, and get to know each other, and it's cheap,
my Thursday shows like that, and you turned me on to Stageit as well, because same as your other friend, because we were talking about it, and I was like, that sounds like a lot of technical hassle, and then as you remember, we were on tour together when the quarantine
we got
hit.
shut down.
So like we were driving over to my apartment for you to stay with me that night before you went back west, and I was like, so what was that staging shit you were talking about?
Now the touring is canceled for the indefinite future.
Oh, now let me see. What were we talking about? Yeah.
But it's a trip, like to be able to kind of make a living, through this
I
stuff.
love it.
Tips once again. I put our Venmos down below there in the comments. Down is our Venmos. But I mean, it's kind of cool that I don't think it'll go away, because I think there's a community aspect to this that people will want to keep going. They'll want to check in with their friends, and it's like, and there's also just like, that idea. Your favorite artist isn't always in their town, but if you can see them kind of, every other week or whatever, and it's cheap too, right? Compared to going and a night at it, like parking, dinner, like
it's
and expensive to go out.
Drink your own booze.
And I started doing stages like 8 or 9 years ago.
I know, you've been doing it forever.
But people would like post pictures of like they'd make a cheese platter and have a bottle of wine, and it's like, put the kids to bed, especially young kids, whatever. It's like cheap date.
It is, yeah. It's killer.
Works really well. Well, have a great Thirsty Thursday.
Thank you, my friend. It's 4:30 Eastern Standard Time.
4:30 Eastern Standard on Thursday. Perfect.
I love you, buddy. Thanks for asking me to do this.
I love you too.
This is so fun.
So good to see you again.
You too. Let's keep talking. Let's keep talking on the phone. I like when we talk on the phone.
Me too. I like that too. All right, and once again, Food Bank for New York City.
Yeah, Food Bank for New York City. Give a little donation. I love you guys. Thank you so much. See you on Thursday, maybe.
Love you too.
And thanks for having me. Bye, guys.
Yeah, thanks everybody for hanging out. Bye-bye.